Before we go ahead and write some tests with Vue test utils, we are going to have a quick little discussion and talk about kind of the most important thing of this entire series, and that's how we manage to separate our business layer and our UI layer. So if we head over to our component, we can see there's quite a large template. It's around 27 lines long. If we head down to script, however, we can see there's quite a small amount of code. All we're doing is importing some Vue APIs. We're importing our business logic here. And if we take a look inside of setup, we have a single reactive function here, or a reactive property, which is the patient, which is obviously part of the UI. We're using reactive because we'd like to reactively update the state. We have a computed property, we have another computed property, and then we're returning everything. So we have a total of about 30 lines here, and all of these are directly related to the interface or the UI. We have all these computed properties to show the user the status of the current form, and we have the patient data structure up here as well. If we contrast this to our business logic, which is in validations.js, this is much longer. It's a total of 76 lines long. And this is pretty normal if you're correctly separating your UI layer and your business layer. It's more often than not, your business logic is going to be far more complex than your actual application layer, which is why you have to write a lot more code. If we have a look in here, we can see there's no imports from Vue. This is entirely framework agnostic. You could use this in another application, for example, a React application, and you'd have no problems because we've managed to correctly separate our business logic and our UI layer. If we head back to our component, you can see this is all UI related. It's all reactive and computed properties. So this is really important, and I think this is the best way to build applications. If you can keep everything as separate as possible, things are going to be much more testable, and they're also going to be much easier to maintain in the long run. You might think there's not much value because you're going to stick with Vue. Are you really going to move away to use something like React? And the answer is probably not right now, but in the future you might. A long time ago, people said we're never going to move away from jQuery, but then they did. They moved to Backbone.js, and then they moved to Angular.js, and then they moved to React and to Vue. And there's absolutely no reason why this is not going to happen again in the future. So you should always be wary of these kind of things. There's a whole lot of benefits to separating all your logic, and there's very little benefit to coupling it all together. Why would you want to have all that complexity inside of your component when you can write very simple pure functions, which are just plain old JavaScript functions, and it makes them a whole lot more testable as well. Anyway, now that we've gone over that, and I think that is the most important thing we've covered, we are going to finish up in the next lecture by writing some tests with Vue test utils just to make sure everything is working correctly.